Welcome to Wyrd Wessex.
My name's Andy.
And my name's Craig.
Today we are incredibly excited to be joined by Maxim Furek, a acclaimed author, seasoned paranormal researcher, and former music journalist. Seems to have done a bit of everything. Whose diverse background spans psychology and addiction studies. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen. And I can't wait to get into this because I have some breaking news. I mean, some phenomenal
Oh,
news. You guys
ooh.
could be the ones to get the scoop. So I hope
Oh,
your
wow.
listeners are there, and I hope they're listening.
All right. I kind of want to know what that is now. Is that something we're going to hang on to, or are we just teasing
No, we're
that
gonna
now?
tell you. Tell me. Let me know when you're ready, and I'll give it to you. So,
I mean, sure, give us the scoop. What is it?
okay, gentlemen, here it is. So I'm working on a book called The Shepton Haunting. And back home here, I'm from northeastern Pennsylvania. There was a haunting. It was sort of like the Amityville Horror, and it was called the
Yeah.
Smurl Haunting. It took place in West Pittston, Pennsylvania, and there was the Smurl family. It was a Catholic family, Jack and Janet Smurl, and their let's see, I believe four children, and they were being harassed by what they thought were demons. And they had the grunting sounds, the smells, the profanities etched in the mirror. Jack claimed that he was raped by a female demon, a succubus. All
Wow.
the weird things that you would expect, the foul odors, the screams in the night. So that was around 1986. In 1988, I had a chance to meet Ed and Lorraine Warren from Monroe, Connecticut. They were on a 15-city tour to promote a book called The Haunted, which was about the Smurl haunting. I
Yeah.
met Ed and Lorraine. I spoke with them. I became their friends. I stayed in contact with them over the years. And one of the things about the Warrens, the Annabelle doll is to the Warrens what the Necronomicon was to H.P. Lovecraft. The Warrens had this doll, Annabelle, that looked like Raggedy Ann, that allegedly was demonic, and they kept the Lorraine wanted them to keep the Annabelle doll in the Warren Occult Museum under lock and key. It was in a
Mm.
wooden case that had three crosses for the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. It had the Lord's Prayer tacked up in the back, and it was infused with holy water and holy oil. So every so often, a priest would go and bless this so that the demon Annabelle would stay in there. In May of 2025, and I'm getting to the creme de la creme. Just stay with me. In May
Yeah.
2025, Tony Spira, who is with the organization that now owns the doll, decided to take Annabelle on the road. So he took her to San Antonio, Texas, to West Virginia, and then she went in May of 2025 to New Orleans. And during the 3 days that Annabelle was there in New Orleans, they had a fire at the plantation, and they had a jailbreak where 10 guys, and it was an inside job, but 10 guys escaped from this prison in New Orleans
Yeah.
and came back. Many people felt that Annabelle was the one who conjured this, who brought this on. Annabelle was scheduled to be in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania at the orphanage on July 11th, 12th, and 13th. This is where I come in. So I talked my wife into going there. Now, it cost me $40 a purse, $40 a ticket. Those 3 days brought in 1,240 people times 40, whatever that is. And there was a whole lot of money that they made. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I went there for two reasons. One, to see Annabelle, and two, to network and meet somebody. I wanted to meet somebody from the Warren Occult Museum. That gentleman was Dan Rivera. So I met Dan Rivera. He was the handler for Annabelle. Great guy.
Yeah.
He was a Catholic guy, an Army veteran, a father, husband, all this. Great guy. I hung out with him. We chatted. He was there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I met him on Friday. We agreed to, and here's the card. Here's the card that he gave me with his number.
Oh wow.
And
Yeah.
I was supposed to interview him on Monday, the 14th. I got busy. I'm working on the Smurl Haunting. That's my latest book. I was working on the book. I forgot to call him. Wednesday, I got a call from my friend. He goes, "Did you hear about the paranormal researcher in Gettysburg that died?" And I said, "No." And so I got online and I Googled it, and there it was. Dan Rivera, age 54, died in his hotel room alone. This was the guy I was supposed to interview on Monday. He died on Sunday. I think, one of the last paranormal researchers to talk to him. So
Yeah.
again, I don't know. I'm thinking it was a coincidence. They're going to perform an autopsy. Um, a lot of conjecture online about what actually happened. When I talked to Dan about New Orleans, he felt that it was all a coincidence, with the plantation fire and the jailbreak.
Yeah.
But in this case, again, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that Annabelle had anything to do with it. I'm not saying that it's demonic. I'm just saying it's weird. It's a weird happenstance. It's a weird coincidence. Gentlemen, your feelings, your thoughts? I mean, I don't know. Again, the guy that I was supposed to interview on Sunday died on Monday, died the day before.
Yeah. No, I think I'm personally with you on that one. I think it's probably a weird coincidence. We do tend to kind of see these connections, right? Particularly with items when we kind of
Yeah,
it's
it's
the
like
whole
a
remembering the hits and forgetting the misses, right?
yeah, like
Yeah, yeah,
Tutankhamun's
yeah,
tomb, you know.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Mm.
so just continuing with that thought, I'm finishing up a book called the Smurl Haunting when Ed and Lorraine came to town. And it's about how I met Ed and Lorraine, how what they did at the Smurl Haunting to try to cleanse it. That's coming out September of this year. September 5th of this year, Conjuring Last Rites is coming out. That is the final Conjuring film, supposedly, and it's about
Yeah.
the West Pittston Schmurl haunting. So I think if it's all in the timing, I think the timing is pretty right. And, if you're interested and if your listeners are interested, maybe we could do this again when the book comes out and just talk about that. So,
Yeah, that
again,
sounds
I,
good.
Absolutely.
I feel I got a hand in this thing. I mean, for
Yeah.
some reason, I mean, and I'm just so sorry. I mean, I was looking forward to talk to Dan and just to ask him a whole lot of questions, and but that wasn't isn't going to happen. So
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he seemed like a really sort of fascinating and nice guy. You know, I've watched interviews with him, and
sure, yeah,
we might have shared some clips on the show.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
We've definitely discussed Annabelle in the past, and it was probably on the cards because we often talk about kind of recent weird news, as we would call it.
yeah.
Um, so we were definitely going to discuss this recent news at some stage, but I guess we've kind of done it now.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, again,
Yeah,
I'm still sort of in shock and bewilderment that
yeah,
I mean, and I don't know really to make of it, but it is a bit of a shock. It's because that's close.
mm,
It's personal,
no, of
and I'm
course.
not saying, and again, I'm not saying at all that it's about a cursed uh, doll, that looks like Raggedy Ann. It's not that at all, but whatever it is, it's still nonetheless it's still unsettling. So, that's what I'm saying.
yeah. So I know originally kind of we spoke about getting you on to talk about kind of your most recent book that's already out, which is The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Um, but if you don't mind, before we do that, because I think it might kind of give us a little bit of insight into your background, is I thought we might talk about one of the older cases you investigated first. Um, so I'm wondering whether you could tell us a bit about what happened at the Shepton mining disaster.
Yeah, and reach up here into my library, but here's the Shepton, the Myth, Miracle, and Music, and I'm a former rock journalist. I used to write about rock and roll, and I was relatively successful. I would, but at any rate, I was writing a book about the song Timothy and the parallel with the Shepton mining disaster. So in northeastern Pennsylvania, now this isn't like Manchester or London or Liverpool where you have 50,000 or 500,000 rock bands or punk
Yeah,
bands. that are out there. I know you guys, you're prolific with the music. We had one band in northeastern Pennsylvania called the Boys, Buoys, and they had a song called Timothy, and there they are. And
Yeah.
Timothy was the highest charting song of any band in my area in northeastern Pennsylvania. So Timothy from 1971 was about cannibalism in a mine shaft. So I was writing a rock biography about the song Timothy and its parallels to the Shepton mining disasters. In both cases, three guys were entombed for 2 weeks. Only two came out, and certainly in Shepton, the local people wanted to know what happened to your mate, what happened to Louis Bova, and there
Yeah.
were unfounded allegations that the guys cannibalized him. Now, this was never, proven true. I don't believe it was true at all. But the rumors persisted. But not only that, the allegations of cannibalism, but also the miners, the one of which was Roman Catholic, claimed that he saw the apparition of Pope John the 23rd in the mine. He stayed there in the mine for 2 weeks with them, just with this sign that of peace, that they were going to be rescued. Pope John the 23rd died in June of 1963. Shepton took place in August of 63. All three
Wow.
of the purported miracles of Pope John the 23rd happened after he had died. He was canonized in 2014. That was Pope Francis. And this time, Pope Francis had a dual canonization. And listen to this little FYI, gentlemen. Pope Francis had a twin canonization in 2014. The one that he canonized was Pope John the 23rd. The other one was Pope John Paul II, the noted exorcist, the guy that said that evil exists, that the devil exists. And Pope John Paul II, his claim to fame was he convened a school for exorcism. He had priests from something like 132 different countries that came, I believe, to Italy, to the Vatican, to learn this medieval art, this ritual of exorcism. Because again, he believed that evil exists. Today, many of us believe that, we think it's a fairy tale, that it's a fairy tale that our parents might have taught us, to behave. Say your prayers or the devil's going to get you. Go to church or you're going to go to hell. Whatever variation of that fear that we have. So, but some people believe it. Some people believe that the devil and evil are just archaic structures used to keep us in line. Pope John Paul II didn't believe that. He believed that evil does exist, that it's out there. Ed Warren believed that it exists, and a lot of other people greater than you or I believe the same thing. So again, I don't know. I know that when we talk about the paranormal, demonology always rears its head, and it's something that we talk about. But
Yeah.
I'll say this. I was invited to the Butler Paranormal Conference earlier this year out in Butler, Pennsylvania, where President Trump allegedly had an assassination attempt. Um, when I was there, yeah, allegedly, yeah. When I was there, I was on stage with the Psychic Vincent sisters. So the Psychic Vincent sisters from out in Western Pennsylvania, US of A, they have this ability. So the police will go and contact the Vincent sisters to find lost people or to find murderers and all this. And they have just a really storied rap sheet. They're really neat. And I was hanging out with them and just having a whole lot of fun. But while they were giving their presentation, this guy in the front row raised his hand and introduced himself. He was a ghost hunter. He would go to these closed down insane asylums and prisons, and he would go looking for ghosts. He was a lone ranger. He went by himself. He didn't go with a group. And this one night, he claimed that he was attacked by a demon. And he showed on his phone, his iPhone, his chest was ripped open. I mean, all kinds of scars, claw marks. And also, his eye was bulging. Something had just ripped it. And he showed this on his iPhone, on his camera, and it was pretty horrific.
Mm.
The psychic Vincent sisters believed that he was stalked by a demon and there was some sort of an attachment. They attached themselves to him. And they said that the only way to get rid of that was through a whole lot of holy water and prayers and the crucifixes. So that was their resolution. But I'll tell you what, that was kind of a scary thing. And for the listeners out there, I mean, buyer beware. If you go into these houses, these buildings, looking for demons, you just might hit the jackpot and get not a ghost that's confused and lost and looking for family or whatever. You may find a demon who's looking for a soul to possess. Now, you either believe this hypothesis or you don't. But if you don't, then well, good luck to you. But if you do, just be aware. And if you go there ghost hunting, I mean, come prepared. Walk on on firm ground and know what you're doing, and just bring some protection with you, whatever that might be. So that's what I have to say. But I mean, I've seen some things that I think are pretty terrifying, and and I can't explain what they are, but they give me pause. So
And, so you've also explored sort of high strangeness in Pennsylvania, sort of itself, as seen in Coal Region Hoodoo.
oh yeah, right. Okay, thank you. Thanks for mentioning that. Yeah.
Could you share a particularly compelling or weird sort of phenomenon from that region that has sort of stuck with you and stayed with you, and why it resonates with you?
Yeah, I think one of the chapters is on Dr. Frederick Santee. He was a white witch. Belonged to the Wicca craft, and one of one of the people from the UK, Sybil Leek,
Oh,
who,
yeah,
who's
Yeah.
it's
infamous.
from my neck of the woods.
Yeah, okay, infamous in. And do you know what her claim to fame was, Andy?
Um, is that I know a couple. I know there was one where she supposedly went to learn from the traveling community, the Romany community in the New Forest. But I'm not sure if that's the one you meant.
Well, what I mean is that when the UK got rid of the witch law, I guess at one
Oh
time
yeah,
a witch would be, I don't know what, if you throw them into the vat or what, but they would do bad things to the witches. But when they
Yeah.
repealed that, Sybil Leek wrote a book about witchcraft,
oh
and
yeah.
she became the loudest proponent of witchcraft. I mean, she told the world that it was okay to explore these ancient religions, either paganism or Wiccanism. Now, Wicca
Mm.
was a little bit more commercial than the pagans, and they don't like each other because the pagans think they're more authentic and everything. But Sybil Leek commercialized it, publicized it. She was the ambassador, the spokesperson. That's what she did for witchcraft. Sybil Leek also came over to Walpollepin, Pennsylvania. And I know you said she's in your backyard. Walpollepin is 5 miles down the road from me. She came there and initiated the Coven of the Cata for Dr. Frederick Santee. Sybil Leek came with her son Julian and her publicist. And that's what she did. So I had a chance to meet Dr. Santee and interview him, and just a whole lot of. If your listeners have any interest in that, on Facebook, there's a thing called Oculus Alchemy, Oculus Alchemy, Oculus Alchemy. Look up Dr. Frederick Santee. We did a documentary, a 14-minute documentary about Dr. Frederick Santee, and you could see it there. Has about 1,000 hits now, but the people that did this are interested in doing a full-length documentary on Dr. Santee. Again, he was one of the foremost abstract thinkers of the 20th century. He was the youngest person to graduate from Harvard. He was 13 or 14 years old. He was invited over to the UK to study with Bertrand Russell, the philosopher and atheist and mathematician. And Russell was going to teach Santee all the mathematics that he could remember if Santee would come over there and teach at his school. And Santee was just a young man, but he was such a brainiac, such a wizard that, I mean, these people like Bertram Russell and Sybil Leek and all these, Aleister Crowley, I mean, um, Santee knew them all. And a little side note, I'm a former rock journalist, but with Aleister Crowley, remember, Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath just had a tour, a fundraising tour, and one of their songs is Mr. Crowley. It raised more money than Farm Aid and Fire Aid combined. Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath still got it. They still got the
Yeah.
clout. They got the whole thing. I mean, they brought the house down. They brought the people in. So, I mean, say what you will. Ozzy for his,
I was,
and what's he got? Parkinson's and I don't know what
yeah,
else. But
Yeah.
I'm still salty I didn't go to that one.
yeah, how close was that to you?
It's about 2.5, 3 hours away from here.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, up in it was in Birmingham, obviously where they started, so it was at Villa Park, the football stadium, and yeah, I've got friends that went, and that some of them were in floods of tears.
Yeah, that must have been just tremendous, man. But I mean, and one thing too with Ozzy and demonology, Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath were the ones who, just like Sybil Leek, sort of popularized Wiccan and witchcraft.
Mm.
Ozzy Osbourne was the one who took the satanic and said and made it kind of cool. He took it from the forbidden and put it into the teenage cool. That's what he did, and little by little, it came into our zeitgeist, and there he is. But pretty amazing stuff.
It's that those first opening sort of really heavy sort of chords to the song Black Sabbath. They still stir something, It's like it
Yeah,
really
yeah,
does.
yeah, 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 yeah. Well, that's music. I mean, music speaks to us, and so and that, so again, Timothy and Shepton was the one that kicked it off for me. So when I published that book, and I know I'm dancing around this whole thing, and I apologize. I could get
No,
more
it's all good.
focused. I could get more
I'm
focused.
enjoying it.
Well, yeah, definitely.
I'm babbling, I know. But when that book came out 9 years ago, 2016, all of a sudden I got invited on podcast, and we had podcasts back in 2016. And then I'm invited to these expos, like in Baltimore, Maryland. And then Mysterious Universe, the Australian podcast,
Big fan.
did,
Yeah.
yeah, did a 90-minute program on Maxim W. Furek and the Shepton book. I mean, come on. I mean, that's like awesome. And this just happened, boom, boom, boom. I
Yeah.
didn't go looking for it. I didn't ask for it. I didn't see it coming. The paranormal stalked me and hit me over the head. Again, I didn't go looking for it. I was a relatively successful rock journalist, but I found a niche with the paranormal, and since the Shepton mythology, I've had Coleridge and Hoodoo, Flying Saucer Esoteric, Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, and coming out in August is the Paranormal Apocalypse. And let me show this to your readers. Gentlemen, prepare to be shocked. Are you ready? Give me a drum roll, please. Here we go. This is this is Paranormal
Oh,
Apocalypse.
nice.
Is this how it ends? There's
I
the hourglass. There's the
love that
Nice
cover.
artwork.
and
That's
Yeah.
there's the
lovely.
skulls. That was my concept. So that comes out in August, and then in September will be the Smurl Haunting
Wow.
when Ed and Lorraine came to town. So
Yeah.
this is kind of nice. I mean, just all these energies, boom, happening at the same time. So it's just I feel, and this is kind of weird. I feel that something's being channeled through me. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
what it is, but I mean, like I'm in one of the most creative phases I've ever been in my life. So I mean, I just,
That's
I don't know.
fantastic.
I know it really is. Yeah. So
It's
yeah,
the weird connection, isn't it? I think sometimes when you kind of open up to these things, kind of new avenues open up to you, you get new opportunities, right?
I think you're right. Yeah, my philosophy is this. You got to keep balls in the air. you get the balls in there. That's our job. And then if you're lucky, if you're lucky, the universe will acknowledge one of those balls and just take it and go with it.
Yeah.
Again, that's fate, that's destiny, that's karma, that's serendipity. We wait for that. And I'm doing the hard work. I'm in the trenches, but I'm just waiting for that luck because that's the missing factor. And I mean, just as you have your podcast and you're hoping, for for the universe to acknowledge you, me as an author, wait for the same thing. So we're
Yeah.
basically in the same boat. We're look at people like Rawlings, Harry Potter. What is she, a billionaire? I mean, you can't even
Mm.
count the money that she made. And I
Richer
was,
than the king.
yeah,
Yeah.
man, Richard, yeah, really. And I'm
Yeah.
talking to my one publisher with Hanger One about Paranormal Apocalypse, and I said, I really got a good feeling about this. And I said, what do you think? And he said, I've been in the business for 40 years, and I can't figure it out. Because even with something like 50 Shades of Grey, which was a crappy book, it was crappy, but man, it sold gazillions, especially with women that, got off
Oh
on,
yeah. I
being,
remember my
whatever.
nan
I didn't
even
read it.
read
What,
that.
I don't
Oh
know if they got
no.
tied up or had blindfolds on or whatever the kink was, but they liked. And then there was another one. Then there was another one. And even the Amityville Horror that I just finished. Talk about a sucky book. I mean, that made millions of dollars. Man, did that suck. I
Yeah.
mean, I take pride in being what I think a good writer,
Yeah.
clean writer, and but some of these books, I mean, I'm all the best to them, but I don't know. It's some of these books just hit a vibe, they hit a chord, they resonate, and that's the key to success. They resonate. There's something there, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. We're collectively we're fickle, but I'm sure 50 Shades of Grey and Harry Potter and Amityville Horror struck in the UK as in the United States, as in Australia,
Yeah.
as in Germany, all over. It was just universal. It wasn't a cultural thing. It wasn't a social thing. It was like a universal hunger to learn more about this. So, you
But
know.
it's interesting you mentioned Harry Potter because I'm pretty sure, didn't she say like it just came to her? It was almost channeled, right? The idea of
She
this.
she did say, and I believe she also pitched that to a number of publishers, and they kept on rejecting her.
Yeah.
They kept on rejecting her, and then and boy, I mean, what were they thinking? I mean, I don't know. Maybe they just couldn't wrap their. They probably didn't think there was a market there. Didn't
Yeah.
think that kids would be reading book, whatever it was. But they screwed up, and then but now she's off to the races, and just
Yeah.
what it is.
So I think maybe it's probably a good time to get on to the main reason kind of we got you on the show, which was to talk about your Bigfoot book, The
Nah,
Lost
let's
Tribes of
not.
Bigfoot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you
okay,
bored of
yeah.
that one now?
Yeah.
Sick
Yeah,
of
let's
talking
okay.
about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, what led you to write the book in the first place? Were you asked to do it? Was it something that you stumbled upon?
Well, yeah, I guess it was in co-region hoodoo, and co-region hoodoo, I guess, is my dark side of the moon. I mean, co-region hoodoo was did really well for me, and for Beyond the Fray Publishing, it sold a lot of copies. It's still selling copies, and it's just because there's so much there. It's almost like an encyclopedia of the weird.
Yeah,
Hoodoo, co-region hoodoo, hoodoo meaning either a blessing or a curse. In Hoodoo, I had two chapters on Bigfoot, the Bigfoot enigma and the Bigfoot hypotheses. And I was just trying to figure out what's all the hysteria about Bigfoot? What is it? And I tried to go and explain it in two chapters, which of course was, impossible to do. So the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot was my attempt at defining what this Sasquatch thing was, how it started, talk about the hoaxers, including the infamous hoax from the UK with the Piltdown Man. And you guys should be ashamed of yourself, but I have a whole chapter on that. And
yeah,
with the Piltdown Man, the thing about that was that Charles Dawson, he was an amateur fossil collector and an attorney. And Germany had the Heidelberg Man, which was one of the oldest relics. So when Dawson claimed that he found the Piltdown Man, this was Great Britain's chance to have their own relic, something that was older than Heidelberg Man, had a bigger brain and all this. So this con went on for 40 years before they realized that Charles Dawson and his associates took an ancient, 1,000-year-old human skull and the jaw of an orangutan with the teeth filed to look like a human. He salted the whole area with iron oxide to make it like 1,000 years older. And that's what he did. And members of the scientific community and the political community looked the other way because they wanted to have their own Heidelberg man. So that was built down. And so the con was afoot for at least 40 years before finally he got called out and people said enough is enough. This is not right. So anyway, I had a whole chapter on that. But you had your Piltdown Man, we had our Minnesota Iceman, which is the same similar thing, a
Yeah.
latex suit that looked like a Bigfoot. The guy claimed that he found it in Siberia in a glacier and he bought it and it was all. But so anyway, I talk about these hoaxers that they sold their soul to the devil for their 15 minutes of fame, and they do a great disservice to us who take a look at the paranormal and try to bring some legitimacy to the paranormal through the eyes of the scientific community and also the public. And these hoaxers are, they should be damned because, they don't do anything for the good of the order. So anyway, I get in the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, I'm pretty militant about that. I mean, like I call them out as I think we all should. So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
part of
Yeah.
and I think Lost Tribes of Bigfoot is a great book. I mean, I'm really proud of it. But I think that if anything, my passion against these hoaxers really comes through. And again, it's in a very militant way. So, I think somebody has to do that. And maybe I'm the one. Maybe that anger was channeled through me. I don't know.
I think a tiny bit of me admired the grift that they put into it, but I mean,
Yeah.
was like, okay, you really went on this, that they, with the Piltdown Man. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I don't mind hoaxers if they admit to it straight away as much.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, no, well played, but if they try and continue it, that bothers me. Um,
Yeah.
Craig, you've been getting quite into some of your Bigfoot theories lately, haven't you? Especially one in particular.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what kind of Maxim, whether what you'll make of this really. But I've been kind of into this idea of time slips recently. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
science tells us that time might not be linear. So I'm wondering whether phenomena, even like ghosts and Bigfoot, could be explained by glimpses either into the past or the future. And so we're kind of crossing timelines just for a glimpse and then disappear, which would kind of explain why we never find bodies or anything like that.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean, what do you think?
I agree. What we need to do is, you use the scientific method. So, so tonight we look at the various hypotheses. Which ones make sense? What works? And the time travel does, but I think the interdimensional one makes more sense. And I think it was Jacques Vallée that was saying that the intergalactic the extraterrestrial hypotheses no longer works. It's sort of old-fashioned, it's archaic. Like
Yeah,
it's old-fashioned to think that the Space Brothers would travel trillions of light years to get from their planet to ours. Takes too long, too much time, energy, too much whatever. We can't even figure that out. So
mm,
rather than that, he said, Jacques Vallée, the thing that makes more sense would be interdimensional theory, as you say, Saxon, that you would take the space-time continuum and fold it, and rather than going those trillions of years, you would just go through that fold. What Einstein called a bridge, Einstein and Rosen called the bridge theory, or what's been
yeah,
called the wormhole theory. So you punch a hole through that thing, and flying saucers or cryptids could go through that. I don't know about ghosts because it's my understanding that ghosts might operate on another little plane, but go
Mm.
ahead and confuse the, the situation. But I think that that interdimensional thing, at least to me, makes more sense. People have talked about Bigfoot having rapid transport or bilocation, that you see them in front of you, then they're behind you. They just shape shift, they zigzag in and out. And I think
Yeah.
that that makes sense with the Bigfoot UFO connection. And we know about this because in Western Pennsylvania, especially in a place called Chestnut Ridge, there's been numerous documented sightings of Bigfoot with orbs, Bigfoot with flying saucers, connected in tandem together.
Mm.
So whatever that is, when I first heard that, I thought that was just ridiculous. That's just a stupid little fairy tale. But there's been so many of these documented in the Chestnut
Yeah.
Ridge, a four-county area in Western Pennsylvania, that I believe there's some basis for that. Too many people have seen this. And for example, we have a guy there named Stan Gordon. And Stan Gordon is the person in Western Pennsylvania that is sort of the keeper of the key. Whenever they call the state police out there and report a flying saucer or a Bigfoot sighting, they'll say, "Hey, call Stan Gordon. Here's his phone number." They have it at the ready, so they'll give him the phone number. And Stan documents all this stuff. Now, Stan writes these books, and Stan's not a very good writer. You know, his it's like watching wallpaper peel, akin to that. But he'll write a story like Farmer and Mrs. Brown went out to the barn to feed the cow, and there they saw the Bigfoot and the orb, 6 o'clock at night. So he'll have all this documented stuff, but I mean, it's boring, it's routine, it's scientific, it's academic, but it's it's data. And he's been able to give us this plethora of data about Bigfoot and UFO sightings. And so we're fortunate to have this guy out there. As far as
Mm.
Bigfoot, the from all the accounts I have seen, and my wife and I are what's called snowbirds. We spend winters in Florida on the Gulf side, where there's a lot of swamp ape sightings, and we spend winters up in Pennsylvania, where there's a lot of Bigfoot sightings. According to all the research I've seen, the four states with the most Bigfoot sightings are California and Washington State. And then number three is either Pennsylvania, where I'm at now, or Florida, where I'm going to go in October. So, take your pick. But those are the four states that seem to have, a preponderance of sightings. And where I live in Florida, we're so close to the Everglades that 16 counties from Miami-Dade up to Polk and the Green Swamp, like what is 160,000 acres. And I mean, just there's swamp after swamp after swamp. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think there's plenty of places for a cryptid to hide. Um, I keep on looking. Certainly the best, most authentic proof we have, there's two. One is the Patterson-Gimlin film from 1967. And one of the guys from the UK helped to validate that. The other one is the Malacca ape in Sarasota, Florida. And this is when that couple had a camera there on their porch and they caught this creature that looked like an orangutan. And when Lauren Coleman, the American cryptologist, looked at it, he said it was either an escaped orangutan or a creature, an orangutan-looking creature. But you could look on the internet to see those pictures of this creature with the grass just flaring behind it. It's pretty incredible. With Patterson-Gimlin, there was a British paleontologist named John Napier, and Napier was in charge of the Smithsonian Institute. In 1972, Napier was able to get a copy of the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot film, and Napier said it's a hoax. And the reason he said it was a hoax was because he said the upper body of Patty looked like an ape and the bottom looked like a hominid, walked on two feet. That was in
Yeah.
1972. In 1974, they discovered in Ethiopia Australopithecus, and they called Australopithecus Lucy after the Beatles, Lucy in the Sky with
Yeah.
Diamonds. And of course,
Yeah.
you've heard the story that night. Those researchers got drunk and they listened to the Beatles, but that was in 74 when John Napier heard this. He changed his mind. He goes, I'm wrong. He goes that that Lucy had the upper body of an ape and the bottom of a human, just like Patty did in the Patterson-Gimlin film. So Napier become convinced it was an example of science coming full circle and giving us the proof that we need. So so that was pretty, pretty incredible. But that was, science meets cryptozoology, and
Yeah.
I believe I'm a firm believer that the Patterson-Gimlin film is authentic, and also that it's the most authentic bit of information that we have. It's the Holy Grail. It's what we've been looking for. It's not a man in a monkey suit, and when you look at the striations, when you look at the glute muscles, and you look at the stretch and the footprints and everything, is just too bigger than any man or ape. So I think it's authentic.
Nice. So another thing I wanted to ask, actually, your book highlights sort of the fascinating early historical accounts as well, like David Thompson's one journal entry and the Old Hunter from 1870. On a personal note, Craig and I, well, sort of Craig the Saxon, we both do sort of Viking era historical reenactment, and we both work in that era
Yeah.
for sort of part of our living. We're particularly intrigued by Leif Erikson's accounts and potential sightings of what they called Skraelings. And you might know, sort of Skraelings, they were quite often sort of deemed as being indigenous peoples of North America when Leif went over there. But some of the descriptions of them, sort of these horrible, ugly, but hairy, with great big black eyes, and mentioning a rank odor and sort of deafening shrieks, that doesn't really check out something entirely sort of human. It's a bit more primal. So how do these initial, more sort of fragmented and ambiguous reports of wild men or monster bear tracks, including these sort of evocative saga descriptions, how do they sort of evolve into the more defined Bigfoot narrative today? Do you think there
Yeah.
is that clear link?
Oh, absolutely, it's a clear link. Yeah, and it's a link to the past. What happened was in 1958, um, the Humboldt Times in Northern California had an article about the California abominable snowman. They called it Bigfoot. So Bigfoot hit the papers, and the Humboldt Times received thousands and thousands of letters of people that said, yes, I believe the California abominable snowman exists, or I too have seen this Bigfoot. So this was the first time that the word Bigfoot went into our vocabulary, our collective lexicon. It hit the wire services. It went around the world. And 1958 was the red letter date. We all knew about Bigfoot from that time on. But here's the thing, this was white man finding about Bigfoot. What we didn't know was that the coastal peoples, the people from British Columbia had talked about Sasquatch for thousands of years. And like the Leif Erikson narrative that you talked about, they talked about these hairy creatures, but they said it was an honor to be able to see one of these Sasquatch. They believed that Sasquatch was a protector of the environment. We knew about Sasquatch from thousands of years of oral history, of totem poles, of, all of that. I mean, it was there, but we white people missed it. It wasn't part of our culture. It was part of an earlier culture. And yeah, Erickson and everybody else were part of this connecting, this ancient narrative with modern day narrative. So the one thing I have in my book, I talk about Albert Ostman. He was a Swedish Canadian trapper,
Do you
And
know it's literally the next question on our list was to
oh,
ask you about Albert Osman. You're
all right,
reading my
okay.
mind here.
Yeah, we are psychic. By the way, Saxon,
Wow.
what are you drinking there? That looks pretty. Is that brandy or what? What is that?
I got Scotch whiskey.
Oh God, listen to you. Okay.
Yeah. I'll be
What is that?
honest,
Pretty
it's a
good?
good one. It's a
Yeah.
fairly cheap one. It's from a
Yeah.
shop over here called Lidl.
Hmm.
Uh,
Okay.
but actually, it was recommended to me by a friend in Scotland.
Okay.
So although it's a cheap one, I've got the not to plug Lidl, but this is a Ben Bracken Isla single malt Scotch whiskey.
Okay. Yeah. Looks good. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
about £18 a bottle. I mean, it's ridiculously cheap for what it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to Little tomorrow, mate. You might, or sort of tempt me.
There's three different ones, but out of the ones I've tried, the Isla single malt is the best one.
Okay. That's good to know.
We'll
We actually
expect.
did.
Yeah.
We did
Yeah.
At Easter time I was running a course with a friend of mine and this guy brought three different whiskies and he took all the labels off the bottles. It was a complete blind
Oh,
tasting to
yeah.
see
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
really liked. And this
Yeah.
was one of the top whiskies.
Oh, yeah. 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 We used to
So
do that with beer, and it's amazing that some of the really inexpensive beer it tastes better, and
yeah.
so
Once you take the label off, it changes it. But yeah,
yeah, it
anyway,
really does. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Albert
will say.
Osman.
I was going to say. I will say. I find some of the cheap American beer tastes better than our cheap beer. I've still got a few cans of PBR somewhere.
I don't know. I mean, some of the stuff like Budweiser and
Oh yeah, true.
Michelob, and that is like crap beer. I mean, I'd rather drink nothing than drink that. No,
I
we,
knew.
no, I, no, we
I
like
nearly.
Guinness. We like the heavy duty beers.
Oh,
I mean,
Guinness is a good one. Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
love a
nearly moved
Guinness.
to Milwaukee, so it was all PBR and Miller. So yes,
yeah, yeah.
but they got
I'll
some
tell
nice ones.
I tell you what, this is not about Sasquatch, but years ago, my wife and I went over to Slovakia. We went to Bratislava, and you go to these restaurants and you order the dark beer, and man, is that good stuff. I mean,
Mm.
that is, I mean, it's
Yeah,
serious. So anyway, have you ever been there to Slovakia?
I
I
haven't.
haven't,
I've got
no.
friends that go, but yeah, I've not. It's on my list. It's on my list.
Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah, Bratislava. Yeah, and the what was the slasher film, the Hostel?
Yeah.
Mm,
Supposedly was supposed to be shot in Slovakia, but the guy I was talking to said no, it was shot in the Czech Republic. So that
yeah.
I don't know, but anyway, yeah, Albert Osman, we were talking about. I have a chapter on him, and when you look at authenticity, Albert Osman, this Swedish Canadian trapper, something was happening at his campsite. Somebody was stealing his food, messing it up. So he hides himself in a sleeping bag with a rifle. He's going to jump out and shoot this guy, this bad guy. But what happened was he fell asleep and something hoisted him up and carried him for miles and dumped him in this valley. Here it was a
Yeah.
family of Sasquatch, mother, father, son, daughter. And the daughter was feeding the daughter Sasquatch was feeding Osmond sweetgrass, and they were curious. They weren't malicious. They weren't threatening, but he got
Mm,
it in his head that they were going to use him for procreation. They wanted to have sex with him. So he freaked out. So what he did was he had chewing tobacco. He enticed the older Sasquatch to get this chewing tobacco, and the Sasquatch got sick. And while he was nauseous, Osman took off. And he didn't say anything. This was 1924. He didn't say anything. And then there started to become stories in the British Columbia papers about these hairy creatures, these wild men, these Sasquatch creatures. So Osman contacted John Green, the British Columbia journalist. And John Green is one of the original four horsemen of Sasquatchery. I dedicate my book, The Lost Tribes, to the four horsemen of Sasquatchery. But anyway,
yeah.
Green took his story, and this was before microfiche, this was before computers, this was before a person could get on the internet and read all about this topic and become an expert on it. Osman didn't have that advantage. He
Mm,
talked about the way this family acted. Typically, when we talk about Bigfoot, we talk about a solitary creature, not a family. Osman talked about a family, talked about the family dynamic, did not talk about a stench, didn't have that rotten egg, wet dog smell that everybody talks about. So
Mm.
it could be that that smell is a defense used as a warning. I don't know what, but he wasn't being threatened and he didn't smell that. So John Green came away saying that this was an authentic representation of Bigfoot. And again, John Green was one of the four horsemen of Sasquatchery that went out there and did these interviews, before the day and age of advanced technology. So, he was one of the pioneers. And Albert Ostman, and here's something too that's pretty interesting. That was 1924. It was one and done. That was the only case of an abduction by a Bigfoot that I'm familiar with. Flash forward to 1961, and Betty and Barney Hill get abducted going through the White Mountains of New Hampshire in the US
Yeah.
of A. And then they're taken aboard a ship and probed and all that. That jump-started a cottage industry of people claiming, CI-4s, that they were abducted and probed. And people like Whitney Strieber and John Mack from Harvard and so many people claiming that, Bud Hopkins claiming that this was a true thing. John Mack from Harvard being castigated by the scientific and academic community for even taking that stance. But 61 jump-started the alien abduction thing, and it's never gone away. It's still with us and stronger than ever. So I mean, just parallels between Bigfoot and flying saucers. So
I mean, what is it you think with these cases, particularly like Ostman? They're kind of almost so far out there. I wonder what would make someone like that want to come forward with their story, because they're obviously going to be kind of ridiculed a little
Yeah,
bit,
sort of
right?
ostracized for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is it you think makes someone like that feel the need to come forward and take that ridicule? Like why would they feel it's so important?
yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, you look at that and you just well, I mean, what makes, what's your vibe? What's your character? I mean, some people just have a little bit more courage. Some people
Mm,
have the ability to roll the dice. Some people are more in the pocket, more conservative. They're more likely to just fall in line and keep their mouth shut and be orderly, good and orderly girls and boys. So I think it's in the character. I think that he just had the balls to go and say, "This is what I saw. This is what I believe," and believe it or not, believe it or not. And I mean, some of these people
yeah.
that have seen things, even in Shepton, the miners said, and their quote pretty much was like, and I'm paraphrasing, "I don't care if you think I'm crazy. This is what I saw." And this is what
Yeah.
LaFallon from the Shepton mythology said. He saw the vision of Pope John the 23rd. He saw humanoid creatures. He saw what he thought might have been, the men in black. He wasn't sure what he saw, but he took that to his grave. So I just think some people, have the courage to speak the truth and take their knots. And I operate by the universal rule of 90. In any situation, 30% of the people are going to believe you, 30% of the people aren't, and 30% of the people could care less. For example, with your program, you probably got 30% of the people that love your show, 30% of the people that hate it, and 30% are busy about it's Friday night, they're going out to the cinema or whatever. They're busy with other things.
Yeah.
So take your pick, and on a good day, you got 30% of whatever, that has your back. So,
Mm.
and with politicians, I think they operate with that. They know they got a 30%. Now they got to go for the other 30, and maybe pick off the independents. And that's the way that works. It's all algorithms, and with our current
Yeah.
commander in chief, I mean, it was just they used the algorithms to find out what played best to the people. And man, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what your political climate is over there, but ours over here in the States
Uh,
really
ours,
sucks with a capital S. So.
Yeah.
ours worryingly tends to follow American trends after a few years.
Don't. God, what are you crazy? We got
Well,
we
yeah.
got
Apparently,
nothing.
yes.
We got nothing here. Don't. Yeah, don't follow
Um,
us.
Uh,
I just wanted to add, actually, you mentioned, sort of the believability of people and people being willing to come forward. We had Eric Nelson from the Willow Creek um, Museum, Bigfoot Museum, on about 6 months ago, maybe a bit more.
oh no, it'd be more than that. This
It
must have
was
been
more than
like
that, wasn't
last
it?
year.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was fairly
and
early on, I think.
it was,
But
yeah.
well, actually, I think you're confusing because he came on again briefly with me,
That's
didn't
it.
he,
Yeah,
for
that's it.
a
Yeah.
feature?
Um,
So
but
yeah,
yeah,
hi
we
Eric, if you're listening.
yes. He was saying that a lot of the people he kept it very close to his chest, his sort of beliefs, but he said that he's got a lot of people that he's known for a while now. People, everything from law enforcement to sort of First Nations folks to all sorts of people that very serious, very serious people that don't make things up. And he
Oh
said they
yeah.
are convinced they've seen something, and they don't. If they're going to say it, they don't care whether you believe them or not, because that's their truth. That's what they saw. And he said these aren't people that make things up.
Yeah.
So
When you look at the proof now, we don't have, I mean, here's the bottom line. We don't have a body, a carcass, and we don't have DNA, but we have eyewitnesses, we have the smells, we have the sounds, we have the wood knocks, we have the wooden structures, we have the foot cast, and you gotta believe these foot casts that are bigger than any human or bear. I mean, these, and Jeff Meldrum from the University of Idaho has one of the largest collections. So, these things to me collectively are credible. Um, the eyewitnesses, I have a friend back home, Craig Long is now a magistrate, a judge,
yeah,
district magistrate. And he used to be in law enforcement. He got a call from this gentleman around 11 o'clock at night, and the guy was letting his dog out for a leak. And he saw this 11-foot creature, and he described it as a Bigfoot. But he told Craig that he wasn't afraid. And the reason he wasn't afraid was because the Bigfoot had kind eyes. It had kind eyes. So that was a legitimate story by a law enforcement friend of mine who is just solid, has character, has no need to go and put on airs or lie about anything. That was one. Another one was a friend of mine. It's in the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot. Joe Lipinski, he was my neighbor, hospital tech, family man, religious man, churchgoer, all this. I mean, all the blocks are checked off. He's solid.
yeah,
Yeah.
And he was driving through a cemetery and he saw not one but two Bigfoot. One was a cinnamon colored, the other one was black. And I interrogated him. I asked him questions about it. I went out there, looked for tracks. And then I contacted Stan Gordon, the guy from Western Pennsylvania, and gave Stan his information. Stan called Joe and took the narrative. But here's another one. I mean, I didn't see it. I've never seen one. I keep on looking. I've never seen one. I'll probably be the last person to see a Sasquatch, but my neighbor did, and Craig took that account of the elderly guy that saw that Bigfoot with the kind eyes. So again, when you see all these things, uh, it makes me believe that there's something there. Uh, I'm interviewed a lot by people from British Columbia and Canada, and they tell me that Bigfoot is their teacher and they're the student. They tell me that Bigfoot gives them gifts, that Bigfoot speaks telepathically, that Bigfoot has psychic abilities,
Yeah.
and on and on and on. So, I mean, this is what they're telling me. I don't know. I mean, it's not my experience, but it's like people that have the witnesses that have seen things, and then people like me that see it from a distance, like maybe see it academically. And then there's people that seem to be in the mix that are reacting with Sasquatch, communicating with Sasquatch. And so, again, I don't know. It hasn't been my experience, but I'm just saying that there's people there that have had a pretty rich experience with this Bigfoot thing. So,
Yeah.
whatever that is.
you sorry, go
Just
on, Craig.
sorry, no, I was just going to say, just to break the fourth wall just for a second, Maxim. I know you said maybe about an hour, and obviously we've done about an hour. Are you looking to wrap up, or are you good to carry on? Because we've actually got quite a lot we haven't covered yet. We could
Yeah,
probably talk for hours, is the problem, right? I
yeah.
mean,
It's our
Well,
hobby
let's
as well, so it's we're happy to carry on. But yeah,
yeah, well, let's go for just a little bit more. If you have any, pressing
mate,
questions, I'd like to
yeah,
get out of here
let's
like maybe in another, say, 15 minutes, if that's good with you.
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
let's skip through the some of the last questions, Andy. We'll both
Yeah,
pick maybe a couple more just to
yeah,
what we think are
yeah.
the
I
most
need I
important.
need to kick back a little, my friend.
Yeah, that's fair
I
enough.
don't blame you.
Absolutely.
We've got another one of these in about 9 hours, so
Yeah. You need to get some sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
solid 2 or 3 hours. I'll be fine.
So maybe if we
Uh,
pick another, maybe two each, just to briefly cover.
yeah,
So you
um,
pick one and then I'll pick one and so on. Yeah.
yeah. You go for it.
I think it was your turn next, to be honest. So
Okay, I'm gonna nick one of the ones that's down for you. Actually,
go for it.
we divvy these out.
Oh, okay.
Um, so a 2024 study found that Bigfoot has more believers, which is 46%, than other cryptids like Loch Ness Monster or the Yeti and things like that. What factors do you think contribute to Bigfoot's particular appeal and the widespread belief in the US and Canada compared to other mythical beasts or, legendary beasts?
Yeah. Well, you don't hear a whole lot about the Yeti. I mean, we did back in the 50s, and we
Hmm.
did with the Abominable Snowman. It was a Peter Cushing, I think. That was a wonderful black and white. That was one of the best movies ever. A science horror movie, Abominable Snowman. But you don't hear about Almas or the Abominable Snowman or Yeti. You hear about Bigfoot and Sasquatch. You hear about that a lot. And in the United States, it's a cottage industry. I'll give you a good example. In Western Pennsylvania, just about every weekend there is a camp out with Bigfoot, with people like Jeff Meldrum and Ron Moorhead and all these big shots in the Bigfoot community. I mean, it's huge, and people come out there. I was invited to Wyers Cave, Virginia, on June the 21st. I was a guest speaker there at a Bigfoot Expo. These things are huge, and people will come there and they'll meet the authors and the speakers and they'll talk about it. So there's a hunger for this, there's a need for people. And I think that what's happening, it's turned into a cottage industry and people are making money with it. It's been totally commercialized. And one of the reasons was in Arkansas, the folk monster. When that motion picture came out, it was really big in Arkansas and Louisiana, and they made it on a shoestring budget. It didn't take a whole lot of money to do it, but they put it together, had national distribution, and they made millions. They made millions. The return was had to be 250 times over what they invested. So that sort of gave the green light to everybody else, every little kid with a camera, $2,000 camera, or any kid with a smartphone, which has the technology to make a motion picture. So a lot of people are out there making documentaries about Bigfoot, about Sasquatch, and just fueling this incredible energy and passion for this creature. I mean, it's taken on mythological proportions. It's just amazing to see how it's grown and how it's been commercialized, how people are making and as an author who wrote a book about Bigfoot, actually two books, Coleridge and Hoodoo had two chapters on it, but the competition is fierce. There are when you Google Bigfoot books, there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. A plethora of books. I mean, the competition is fierce. I mean, what else can we say about Bigfoot that hasn't been said before? Uh, and my premise is this: if it's not flesh and blood, what is it? So, if it's not flesh and blood, and we've had plenty of time to find that carcass, if it's not flesh and blood, then maybe it's interdimensional. Maybe that makes more sense than anything else. And that's certainly what I believe. I mean, I think there's something there, but what is it? I think that is just something of the, you know, and let's face it, none of us here are astrophysicists. I mean, we don't know about these multi-universes and the mathematical probabilities and all this stuff. That's not our game. We're just interested in it. We're passionate about this topic and we talk about it. But, we're sort of like at a disadvantage with the scientist who can
Yeah.
talk the talk. So like Jeff Meldrum, I mean, he gets all the points because this is his area of expertise. And he believes that it does exist. He believes it's flesh and blood. And I think Jeff Meldrum believes that it might have been Gigantopithecus, that this the largest ape ever that looks
Yeah.
like an orangutan. And with Giganto, supposedly it went from the Bering Strait to North America and British Columbia, and then it died out because this thing was so big that after climate change, all of the fruits and berries, of the nutrients are up on the top of the trees. And Giganto was too big to climb those trees. It was humongous. And so it only ate acorns and branches and all this stuff, and it wasn't enough to sustain him. And Giganto died off because of that. So, but I'm pretty sure Giganto is is what Jeff Meldrum believes is a possibility for what could Bigfoot be. And with me, with the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, that was a metaphor for what could Bigfoot be. So could it be Australopithecus or Giganto or Neanderthal or or the Hobbit Man or whatever, or something that we have not that's out there that we haven't found yet. And getting back to your question from 15 minutes ago, Bigfoot rings all the bells and checks all the boxes more so than Loch Ness or anything else because it's there, it's current, it has the juice. You can't say that with all the other stuff. It's just like, Bigfoot is just rocking and making money and drawing people in and you know so just like um, Annabelle, the doll. I mean, you can't believe when I was there in Gettysburg, the lines and lines and lines of people to go
Yeah.
into that
Yeah.
room to see this doll, this supposedly demonic doll that's in the wooden cage with the window. Um, crazy stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah. It's quite uncanny because you keep like almost jumping forwards to things we're going to ask you. It's like... So I mean I was going to ask you where you stood kind of on your belief in Bigfoot, which you've kind of covered there.
Yeah.
I mean, would you ever want Bigfoot to be proved to exist? Would there be any particular benefits maybe for the species itself, like a protection order, anything like that?
Or would it
Well,
kill the romance around it?
when you look what Homo sapiens did to look what we did to the Native Americans, what we did to the buffalo. I mean, come on, we're not kind people. We don't have a warm
Yeah.
heart. I mean, we've been brutes. We've been bastards. We've done some things that really, I'm hoping that maybe a younger generation could take another look at this planet and treat it better. So, we haven't been good stewards of our planet. And, look at global warming. I mean, things are getting hotter and hotter. The hurricanes are coming faster and faster. I mean, call it what you will. You could either call it cyclical, that this happens every so many hundred years and we get these pattern changes, or it's man-made, driven by fossil fuel and everything else that we're doing wrong. So we know, we can push this back, but nobody's doing it because the industrialized nations, I mean, nobody, we're not going to do it. I mean, Russia, India, China, nobody's going to do it. And the world's going to continue to be polluted. And this is the legacy we're leaving for our grandchildren. So,
Yeah.
remember, Bigfoot was a protector of the environment. If anything, if you're into Bigfoot, if you're into Sasquatch, that maybe that's one lesson that we should have learned, for people like John Muir and people like Gifford Pinchot, uh, and Theodore Roosevelt, who were really into conservation. So, these were Americans that did so much for, the environmental concerns. So, um,
Yeah.
Um, Do you think this isn't a planned one, but I thought I'd just throw this one in really quickly. Do you think that is part of the attraction to Bigfoot? Is that aspect of being an environmental protector, even subconsciously in people's minds, that sort of essence of something almost human, almost what we could be with nature, existing within nature that we've sort of lost in ourselves?
Yeah, yeah. That's a great question. I mean, I hope and pray that these Sasquatchers, these kids and these grown people that go out there in the woods looking for Sasquatch, I would hope that they would get that message. John Muir said that when you go into the woods, you talk to God. I mean, it's like going to church, it's just so
Yeah,
beautiful. You get away from the white noise, you get away from the noise of London and Birmingham and Manchester and all that. I mean, you get away from the noise, and it's a wonderful thing. I would hope, I would hope that the Sasquatchers would do that, but unfortunately, a lot of these people I talk to, they're knuckle draggers. They can't even put two sentences together. They are not good representatives of the genre. And, I mean, come on, at least, t speak the King's English, at least go and come across as somewhat knowledgeable and intelligent. And, but I don't know. I'm personally disappointed with a lot of what I see, a lot of people who I interact with. And, I think collectively, people within the Bigfoot community can do better. And I think that being stewards of the environment and talking about the environment and preserving the environment should be number one. If anything, we should be doing that. And Andy, that's a great question. I mean, that's really exactly where we should be, but I don't think we're there. I don't think we're there. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll tie up there because yet again, you've kind of answered the last thing I was going to ask you was about kind of the ultimate message that you'd have from the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot. And I think you've kind of encapsulated that already, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that there's more to it, And again, you go back to the coastal peoples, you go back to these ancient people in British Columbia. They had the right thing. I mean, they treated Bigfoot as a sacred entity. They believed that Bigfoot had powers, abilities, could manifest into rocks and trees and things. I mean, just all kinds of incredible things. So, that wonderment, that respect, all of that stuff. There you go again, Here's to you. Okay. The next time, every time you take a drink, you got to say like 1, 2, 3 Sasquatch.
Or as my
So,
Scottish friends would say, slange.
oh yeah,
Lunch,
Slange.
that's
yeah.
good. Yeah. I can't believe you didn't make it to that Black Sabbath, man. Come on.
I know, right? The
Mhm.
tickets were expensive. They were
Yeah,
very expensive, and
yeah.
I mean, we were that was the weekend we were at Corfe Castle. We were doing a show at this sort of ruined castle that looks just like Weathertop from Lord of the Rings,
Oh, okay, yeah,
and we were recording an episode in there in the evening as well. So it was a consolation to an extent. I got to sleep in a really cool ruined castle,
yeah,
but there was a little bit of me that was thinking, oh, I bet Sabbath are on now, you know.
yeah. Well, you
Um,
can't do it all. They're having a Paul McCartney cover band, Beatles and Wings and everything tonight. It was free. And but I had this podcast I would rather be doing this anyway. Like, I mean, I am
Oh,
not
wow.
without music. I go to concerts all the time. I mean, like, I'm truly blessed. So I'm not,
Feel
so,
honored.
yeah, we
Giving up your
appreciate you
Friday
spending
night.
the time to
oh,
yeah
this is
the
great.
time
Yeah, yeah.
spent with us.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
By the way, when I came back from Florida, the first thing I did was I saw Alice Cooper in concert. And
nice.
you get a chance to see Alice. I
I've
mean,
seen Alice before.
oh,
Yeah. I think the one I've seen the most. I've seen Iron Maiden about 14
okay,
times.
okay, yeah, okay, okay.
I taught the bassist archery. That's my claim to fame.
Yeah, okay, okay,
um,
yeah.
but
But Alice Cooper was just awesome. So yeah, that was a great time. Yeah,
yeah, he's brilliant live.
yeah.
Um, it's like a show. It's not just a gig. It's a show.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, that was
Um,
so much fun. So, and then he started out with this poster, banned in Pennsylvania. So it came out of kind of, but I mean, it's with Alice Cooper, there's all these people dying. He's killing people, slashing people, but you don't feel anger or violent. You don't want to kill, you just watch it. It's just entertainment. That's all it is.
yeah,
I
Yeah.
mean,
it's
for most of us, like if you're unhinged, it might, trigger something, but Um, in my book, The Smurl Haunting, I have a chapter on Amityville and also a chapter on the Wells House. And I know this isn't part of the Bigfoot conversation, but in this
It's all
Yeah.
upcoming
good.
book, um, Butch DeFeo, he was 23 years old, and he was the one that killed his mother, father, two sisters, and two brothers. 8 shots, 6 autopsies. And to this day, the world wants to know what would happen. Why did that happen? And they said he wasn't crazy, he wasn't mentally ill, but he was a sociopath. He lacked empathy and he demanded instant gratification. He did heroin, he did a lot of meth. His family was wealthy. He walked around with thousands of dollars. I mean, crazy stuff. And then he leaves, and then the Lutz family moves in. I think George and Kathy Lutz move in. They claim that for 28 days they were stalked by demons and everything. And that
Yeah.
narrative, the Amityville Horror, is questioned whether or not that was being made up or it actually happened. So George Lutz died. He claimed that it was true. And just because people make money from a certain gig, not that I am, or, I'm assuming, I don't know if you are, but I'm not.
Not
No,
yet.
no,
Not
not at all.
yet. Definitely a passion project.
Yeah, yeah. But just because people make money from, the Warrens were making, Ed and Lorraine Warren were making $5,000 a gig, they're going to a college and doing a program showing their crappy little PowerPoint slides. So, or they're just their slideshow, their projector. So, so if you could make money from what you have, I mean, so what? There's nothing dishonorable about that. I mean, that's what you do. I mean, it could even
Yeah.
be scriptural. God's given us talents. It's our job to multiply those talents. There's nothing wrong with making money. As long as don't let it be don't be a slave to it. So, you know,
Yeah.
that's those are my final words of quasi wisdom. Yeah. So,
Um,
gentlemen, I'm
Ah,
gonna have to book,
that's
as we
fine.
say here in Pennsylvania, but
No, it's been an absolute pleasure having you.
so yeah, that about wraps it up for us. Until next time.
stay weird.
Stay weird.